Mount Hyjal is an iconic place in the world of Warcraft. It is the location of the World Tree, and it was at this place that the races of Azeroth came together and defeated the Legion in Reign of Chaos. In WoW, it is a leveling zone for level 80 to 82 players, but its history begins even earlier than that. Today, we are going to look at how Mount Hyjal has evolved through time. Enjoy!
I'm sorry I'm late. It's just as we feared. Archimond and his Doomguard are making their way towards the summit. He'll be here any moment.
10,000 years ago, we Night Elves defeated the Burning Legion. Though the rest of the world was shattered, we were left free to live out our immortal lives in peace, bound to the World Tree. We are its protectors, and through it we were granted immortality and power over nature. Now, at last, it is time we gave that power back.
You realize that we will age as these mortals do. Our powers over nature will wane in time.
If pride gives us pause, my love, then perhaps we have lived long enough already. I will proceed to the summit and prepare our defenses there. Whatever comes, my love, remember, our bond is eternal.
In Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, Twilight of the Gods is the 7th chapter of the Night Elf campaign. Here, the forces of the Alliance, the Horde and the Sentinels come together to fight the Legion at the foot of the World Tree. This is the culmination of the original campaign, and the objective is to hold Archimond at bay for 45 minutes, to buy Malfurion Stormrage enough time to use the powers of Nordrassil itself to stop the Legion invasion and save the world. This all ends in a really impressive cinematic, where Malfurion sends an army of wisp-like beings to detonate and incinerate not only Archimond, but also the World Tree itself. With a history like that, Mount Hyjal is really an important place in the Warcraft universe, and even though it wasn't available until Cataclysm, it was already in development in the first available alpha build. The Friends and Family Alpha 0.5.3 is far from done, the world was still taking shape. But as you can see, already in this stage work had begun in Mount Hyjal. Most of the zone was still a flat surface, and they had really only begun on the southern area. It was a single road surrounded by trees and a few cliffs, and although it was just a small area, it looked really good. Beyond that, they had started outlining the rest of the zone, but there was not a whole lot more to see. This would however change already in the next alpha build, because in 0.5.5 a huge update was made, and Hyjal was transformed from this early stage to a basically fleshed out zone. After that, some details would be added here and there, but overall you can say that Hyjal has existed as a basically complete zone since this patch was added the 12th of March 2004. The Mount Hyjal that was introduced in Cataclysm is so heavily based on this vanilla zone that you should be able to drop down anywhere and recognize where you are. However, there are a few things in this version that's so odd or unique that we have to point them out. First of all, until the revamp in the southern areas of the zone, you could actually find Onyxia's lair. The gateway to it couldn't be opened, and of course the raid portal was inactive, but the entire lair was there uninstanced, most likely serving as a placeholder for a raid or something else that was supposed to be here in the early plans of the zone. Another really iconic thing about Vanilla Hyjal is the World Tree. However, the special thing about it is not the tree itself, but the very fact that Archimonde's remains could still be found hanging on the roots. I still remember when I was exploring here and saw this for the first time all these years ago, and I really don't think that anything else in terms of WoW exploration ever managed to impress me like that again, and I really think it's a shame that when they revamped this area, they chose not to include this. Now, this zone looks very good, and when you see it like this, it might be easy to forget that it was never finished, at least until you take a look behind the World Tree at the end of the road. There, a couple of construction signs remained all the way up until the revamp, as proof that this zone was still very much a work in progress. In the Burning Crusade, it seems that Blizzard finally grew tired of people trying to get in here. In the beta test of this first expansion, there existed a debuff called No Man's Land. When players attempted to get inside Blade's Edge Mountains or Shadowmoon Valley, they would get afflicted by this debuff, and the tooltip would read, "You are where you should not be." It would then teleport the players away from the zones, and in patch 2.1.2, this was applied to Mount Hyjal as well. However, even though the Burning Crusade made it a lot more difficult to exploit inside the zone and explore it that way, this is also when Blizzard decided to make the first actual use of it. The Cameras of Time was a feature announced in the reveal trailer, and with it came the Battle of Mount Hyjal.
Witness the majesty of the World Tree Nordrassil as 3 heroic armies join forces to defend it from the insidious Archimonde and put a final end to the Burning Legion's invasion of Azeroth.
As you might have noticed, they actually used the vanilla zone, not the actual Battle for Mount Hyjal map, to get the footage for this trailer. There are no sentinel buildings like it should be around the tree, and if you look again you can actually see that the construction signs are still there in the reveal trailer for the Burning Crusade. Now, the actual Battle for Mount Hyjal map is heavily based on the vanilla zone. Alliance, Horde and Sentinel buildings have been placed out to represent the armies that fought the Legion in Warcraft 3. The terrain has been altered in some places. For example, the crater in the northern part of Hyjal has been restored and is now the ore camp. And other things have been cleaned up as well, like the Onyxia's lair, which could usually be found around the place where the first encounter takes place. The raid reenacts the end of Reign of Chaos, as we have to move from camp to camp and fight off the Legion and Scourge forces, until we can challenge Archimonde himself at the foot of the World Tree. Now, in most Cameras of Time dungeons, we have to go in because the Infinite Dragonflight is messing with the past and we have to stop them. However, this is not the case in the Battle of Mount Hyjal, and when asked about what the point even was for the Battle of Mount Hyjal, Blizzard said the following. It is a time pocket, if you will. There is no intended link to the Infinite Dragonflight or their dastardly deeds of altered timeways, and you are not literally interacting with history. It is simply a way for players to experience some of the larger moments in Warcraft history, and admittedly, the Mount Hyjal instance isn't really linked to the world for any rhyme or reason. The timeway presented itself, it is an amazing opportunity to be there and experience such a major event, and Archimonde drops fat purples. And that is basically why we can go back and fight the Battle of Mount Hyjal. We absolutely don't need to, it is not important to the Burning Crusade storyline in any way. Blizzard simply wanted to give us this experience, and perhaps that is all the reason they should need. And while we could now fight Archimonde in the Cameras of Time, the actual zone Mount Hyjal would remain unavailable for a few more years. But when Cataclysm rolled around, it was finally time to open it up.
So Mount Hyjal. So Hyjal is a zone that's been in the game for a long time. and we're finally able to do what we want to do with Hyjal. I think this is the Hyjal that we wanted to give everyone for sure. So I think everyone knows where Hyjal is. So basically, Hyjal is under siege, and we've basically got to get in there and figure out what's going on. Hyjal is under siege by Ragnaros. He's basically opened a connection from the elemental plane of fire and basically sent his army through to lay siege to Hyjal and burn the world tree. That's his goal.
And just to put that in context, right, when we play Molten Core, when we essentially take out Ragnaros back in the day, like, we pretty much banished him back to the plane of fire, and he's pissed.
Yeah.
Right. So...
It was too soon.
Right. Yeah.
Too soon.
Way too soon. So you can see on the layout here to the south of Hyjal, that's the section where we created a whole new landmass there, and that's where they've come through. You're going to quest through all that. Now, that doesn't mean that Hyjal doesn't have anything to help it out. Malfurion Stormrage is actually back. He's woken from the Emerald Dream. And the Barrow Dens below Hyjal and the armies of Cenarius are going to be here, help trying to defend the World Tree, and you're going to get to play a part in this whole storyline through the zone.
And you know what? While Ragnaros is pissed, Malfurion's pissed too. So he's going to get it on.
The World Tree has slowly recovered since Malfurion used its powers to destroy Archimonde, but now it is threatened by the Fire Lord Ragnaros. The Sulfuron Spire is an entirely new area, but basically everything else about this zone resembles the vanilla version. The questing experience is heavily phased and takes players from Nordrassil to the Four Shrines to Dark Whisper Gorge and finally to Sulfuron Spire. Progressing through the questline will restore some of the lands, for instance turning the Flame Wake to the Regrowth. Now I'm going to take you through the entire zone so you can see the areas that was made back in 2004 and how they turned into what you can see in-game today. In Legion, we revisit a lot of iconic places from the past. Whether it be Icecrown Citadel or Karazhan, Blizzard have made sure to make a lot of the old landmarks relevant again. Mount Hyjal and the World Tree is no exception. Druids will be able to travel through the Dreamway to a lot of different nature-based locations, and Nordrassil is one of them. Not only that, but it also plays an important part in the quest to retrieve Ganir, the artifact weapon for Restoration Druids. Here, the demon Destromath attacks Nordrassil, and we have to use the power of Ganir to stop him. The entire battle takes place in a small instanced version of Mount Hyjal, where the influence of the Legion has spread around the World Tree. Since this is such an important place in the history about the war between Azeroth and the Legion, it is actually a nice touch that Blizzard made sure that the demons would attack here once more. Well then, this was the evolution of Mount Hyjal. Throughout the years it has gone from the epic ending of the Reign of Chaos campaign, to a mysterious sealed off area within the World of Warcraft, to a massive raid, to a leveling zone, and now it is part of one of the artifact weapon questlines. I really hope you have enjoyed this little history lesson, and if you did, please give the video a like and leave your comments down below. And if you want more Warcraft from a different perspective, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I will be back with more stuff very soon. But until then, take care.